The two best words in sports. Game 7. And the Clippers avoid a 3-0 hole in Dallas.
They need to block out the noise. I've never seen a more sensitive team than the Clippers.
All that and more.
If Leo cares about targets, that's where New England and Tennessee can jump out.
This is
Strictly basketball. There's no belligerence or any racism going on.
This is a series where they're just going to kind of go through the motions and then they're going to go up and win the championship.
The Celtics look like they're ready to go on vacation.
We begin with the two New York City area teams in action on Friday. First, the Brooklyn Nets in Boston meeting the Celtics. Brooklyn had a 2-0 series lead going in. The game was on ESPN Radio.
Just right at the top of the arc, around the Harlem screen, rises for two. Got it, and the lead. Low speed to the jab step. One bounce, fires to 18, and ripped it. 50, half 100 for Tatum. And puts Boston up by 7 with 40 seconds to go. Biggest basket of the year for the Boston Celtics.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, for the beautiful May the 28th, 2021. Gone to the Padres. Happy Memorial Day weekend to a lot of our good friends all over the sports universe. It's all fair love and war. This is Charlton with Big C Sports. Be going solo tonight. Big C's decided to party early. He's going to party like it's 1999, but that's a long time ago in the sports universe. It's all fair love and war. Want to really wish everybody a very, very happy Memorial Day weekend. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. And you can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. If you're ready to have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing. This is when Big C says he loves pausing too. It's all fair and love and war, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And I know it should be more important to a lot of people. And actually, it is a lot more people that are excited about the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They're also talking about mental health hotlines. And there's a lot of hotlines that people are giving out, especially for this Memorial Day holiday weekend. Hopefully, everybody will have a great holiday weekend. If you're going to drink, please don't drive. If you know anyone drinking, please don't let them drive. It's all fair and love and war. Make sure you do yourself a favor and help take care of the people you love. If you want to help our veterans, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as a home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it, watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to BigCSports.pac. WM.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear all of our sponsors from all over the world as they pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. My goodness, there's a lot of good things tonight. We know Jason Tatum dropped 50 points, dropping 50 at TD Gardens. What a display he put on. Also, you have the LA Clippers. Big C, they showed like they want to clip the wings of the Dallas Mavericks. They clipped some wings down in Dallas. It's all fair level worth. The great Luka Doncic went for 44 points. There's a lot of good things happening in the world of the sports universe, and I really appreciate everything. Hockey was also on the ice, having a great time in the world of hockey. There's a lot of good things. The Dodgers and the Giants were doing their thing down at Chavez Ravine in beautiful Southern California, and everybody's excited about the game of Major League Baseball, especially in Southern California. It's all fair and level war. I just want to say today, I want to give out a special message, and it really is for this great country, the holiday weekend. I know this country goes through a lot of good and bad whenever people have conversations. You can't find people to agree with everything. Some of our sports fans have lost their mind. They've lost their freaking mind. What did Spock say? He said, Scotty, have you lost your freaking mind? Or was it Spock that said it to Scotty? I know somebody said it in the movie Star Trek. It's all fair and level war. But I really do want to just say, for everybody out there having a good time, going out of town, there's a lot of traffic in Northern California, and especially all over the country, I'm sure, as a lot of people are trying to get out and enjoy their weekend. I just hope that everybody can stay safe. Today's a little bit different show because everybody knows that NBA basketball is going to dominate the weekend. Also, baseball will dominate the weekend. Unfortunately, the great Phil Mickelson didn't make the cut, but it's all fair and level where he's still celebrating what happened in his past games. You know, in his past win, I really appreciate that. A man at 50 years old winning in the golf tournament. But for people, again, for me, I want to take the time to just say, for everybody out there that's trying to celebrate a great weekend with family or friends, or sometimes if you're just by yourself, please be safe. Every day is a blessing, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports, and I appreciate the way things are growing in the sports universe. Everybody has their own flavor and way of doing things. We had so many things to be grateful for in this great country of ours, and I know that so many times people can take for granted how things are. They take for granted how hopefully if they have a dream they want it to come true, you want people to help you make your dreams come true, and sometimes you got to do things on your own, and there's nothing wrong with that. I really appreciate what happened, and when people take the time to just let somebody know I care about you, I'm thinking about you, and I really do hope that more people can do that. I want to touch a little bit about what happened in the games tonight. Them New York Knicks, Big C, they went down to the Big A, the ATL, known as the beautiful city of Atlanta, and the good old boys from Atlanta were doing their things with a 105-94 victory over the New York Knickerbockers. I know a lot of people were saying this game is really a game that everybody's looking forward to. 105-94, the series is now 2-1 for the Atlanta Hawks, and maybe not a lot of people thought this would happen, Big C, but it did happen. When you look at the scoring for the New York Knicks, you have Bullock. He had 38 minutes, only had 11 points. Randle, the great Julius Randle, had 14 points, played 35 minutes. Gibson poured in 4 points. The great Derrick Rose, 30 points in 39 minutes. I mean, who would have thought that Rose would have been the MVP for the New York Knicks? Noel also had 12 points for the New York Knicks as they're trying to find a way to dig themselves out of a hole down in Atlanta. Big C, sometimes a chicken falls in a hole and you can't dig yourself out. If an apple falls in a hole, oftentimes it becomes a tree. And I think that apple seed has been planted down in Atlanta. I know the good old people the great people from the city of New York City, they're really looking forward to having the Knicks play maybe a Game 7. If it's over in 6, it's going to be the Atlanta Hawks. If it goes to 7, maybe, just maybe, New York will have a chance. with Mayor Bill de Blasio saying, "Do not come into this town and flop." It's all fair and 11 war when you look at the scoring leaders. For the Atlanta Hawks, Hunter dropped in 11 points. Collins at 14. Capella was really big, had 12 rebounds in 34 minutes, dropping 13 points. Bogdanovich had 15 points. Trae Young, this man's going to be a star. He had 14 assists. He only had 1 rebound, but he dropped in 21 points for the Atlanta Hawks. And the Atlanta Hawks are playing like a team that's not afraid of the media. They're not afraid of somebody coming out talking mess to them. And they're finding a way to get things done. And I wanted to say congratulations to the Dirty South. The Dirty South was out partying. And I think they ran out of chicken wings, word has it. I have no idea. Maybe they'll serve Hawk Big C, but that'll have to be on ice. It's all fair and 11 war as they sent New York into second guessing if they have the right game plan. I also want to say there's a new sheriff in town in Dallas. And his name happens to be Paul George. Paul George, 29 points, had 7 rebounds, 4 assists. The great Kawhi Leonard, the Claw, 36 points, had 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Leonard played 42 minutes. Paul played 41. Sounds like a law firm, Big C. They get away from Dallas with a 118 to 108 victory. And when you look at what that means for the Los Angeles Clippers, all it means is they won't get swept. Will they come back and win this game? I think they found a way to play. Jackson had 16 points in 34 minutes for the Clippers, Big C. So it's important. Morris dropped in 15 points, played 34 minutes, and that's a telltale sign where they're getting some contributions that's more than 5 or 6 points outside of Leonard and also the great Kawhi Leonard. I want to take you over to Dallas. The great Luka Doncic. He's the new J.R. Ewing in Dallas, Big C. Hopefully not everything that J.R. Ewing did, but he's the new J.R. Ewing in the city of Dallas, Big C. That great good old boy had 44 points. He almost did what Ice Cube did. He almost messed around and got a triple-double, Big C. He had 9 rebounds, and he had 9 assists, and he played 39 minutes. But that's really where the scoring came from. Hooper had 14. Hardaway Jr. only had 12 points. Brunson had 14. And that's not going to get it done at American Airlines Arena. Maybe, just maybe, the Dallas Mavericks were taking the L.A. Clippers a little bit lightly, but you don't take a team from L.A. lightly. There's too much pride, and they're well coached by the great Tyronn Lue. You know, sometimes you say, it's a bird, it's a plane. No! What? The Brooklyn Nets lost? Yep, the Brooklyn Nets. You know what happens when you go into Boston? Sometimes people think it's all fair and love and war, that they're going to get the great free throws. Free throws. I think, what was it? Back to Portland. Portland went to the free throw line double. Actually, it was Denver that went to the free throw line double. What the Portland Trailblazers did. Dalladine was coming out talking about that, Big C. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it. How do you not get the benefit of the doubt at the free throw line when you're the home team? But sometimes the NBA, they have their favorites, and they definitely want to see Joker advance. It's all fair and love and war. But I want to go back to Beantown. Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum dropping 50 points in TD Gardens with a 125 to 119 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. And you know things are bad when James Harden, who was going to be my MVP before he got hurt, when James Harden said, it's what we needed because it's playoff basketball and we needed to be tested. And I don't know if that's the right word. It's not what you need when you lose a game, when you could have swept that series when the team seemed lifeless at Boston. The great Kevin Durant, you can expect the same thing out of Durant. Durant dropped 39 points, had 9 rebounds, but he only had 1 assist. Durant played 40 minutes of the game, Big C. When you look at Irving, he went in, he talked about not having any shenanigans with the crowd, any racism, any taunting, any of that garbage that we've seen in the NBA. But the great Kyrie Irving dropped 16 points. You need more out of Kyrie Irving. He had 6 rebounds, and he only had 2 assists. That's not good. He played 41 minutes and only had 2 assists. They got to get more assists out of him. The great Kevin Durant. He played 40 minutes. Big C, he had 1 assist in that game. When you look at Harden, Harden was doing his thing, dropping 41 points. The great James Harden had 10 assists, 7 rebounds, and he played 39 minutes. So the Brooklyn Nets, Harden did his thing. Durant has to assist more, and especially Kyrie Irving has to assist more. Just my opinion, but it was a great game back and forth. It looked for a while, that Brooklyn was actually going to blow out the Boston Celtics. We're talking to you today on a beautiful holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend. It means the official kickoff to summer. That means more people will say, it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. It's all great in love and war, the great Nelly. If you're built like Nelly, I guess you don't mind taking off your clothes, but some people can. Keep your clothes on. It's all fair in love and war. Not everybody needs to take off their clothes, even if it's summertime. You know who was taking off his clothes tonight? His name is Jason Tatum. He's a good old boy from Boston, and he was doing his thing all night long like the great Lionel Richie Big C, dropping 50 points, had 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Tatum played 41 minutes for the Boston Celtics. Fournier dropped 17 points, and he played 37 minutes. Thompson had 19 points in 30 minutes of action, Big C, and grabbed 13 rebounds. That's really good for the Celtics. And Marcus Smart, the guard, had 23 points for the Boston Celtics, and he played 39 minutes of great basketball for the Boston Celtics. I know there's a lot of people at TD Garden has no advantage like the old Boston Garden. The old Boston Garden had no air conditioning, at least on the visitor side. In this room, they had some cooling packs, some ice packs on the home team side, but that was a place with no air conditioning. And you have the great basketball city of Boston watching a Stars born in Boston, a team that could have folded their tent, a team that could have said it's over, we don't want to try anymore. At the same time, Tatum coming out and dropping 50 points, joining the likes of Rick Barry and also Michael Jordan. And I mean, that's just amazing. He's a young man, has a bright future ahead of him. And no, this was not a sweep. And I know a lot of people thought that the New York Nets were going to go in there and sweep the Celtics. I don't think the Celtics are going to win this series, even if they only win that one game. You know, Tatum was poked in the eye by Kevin Durant the prior game and didn't even finish that game. But he came back, and now that he can see with 2 eyes, Big C, as opposed to 1 eye, he dropped 50. So he outperformed Harden, he outperformed Durant, he outperformed the great Kyrie Irving, and Jason Tatum, a star is born in the city of Boston. I really appreciate how so many great players are doing their thing when it comes to the world of NBA basketball. It is fantastic. We're going to take what's called an abbreviation and also call a minor pause, not the Big C pause, but it's a minor pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back for the mini Big C pause on this beautiful Memorial Day holiday weekend coming up. Everybody's taking the time to get away. The highways are packed this weekend, and people hopefully will stay safe. If you're going to be on water, make sure you have your life raft. Not everybody can get accustomed to swimming when they haven't been in the water in a long time. So hopefully, get in the water, have a life raft. Don't go in there drinking and swimming. Please stay safe so you get through this weekend. I also want to tell you, the pitch hit deep. Right field, back to the wall, home run. A lot of baseball going on in this great Memorial Day holiday weekend. Some scores we had for you coming out of the city of Chicago. It wasn't a high-scoring game, Big C, but it was by the score of 1-0. The Chicago Cubs get a win over the Cincinnati Reds, those pesky Cincinnati Reds coming out of the city of Cincinnati. Also down in the city of Boston, over in the great Northeast, Big C, the Boston Red Sox with a 5-2 win over the Miami Marlins. That's a great place. If you've ever been to Fenway Park in Boston, one of the most rustic and great baseball places to watch Major League Baseball. Also, we have the Toronto Blue Jays with an 11-2 win over the Cleveland Indians. It was the Detroit Tigers with a 3-2 win over the New York Yankees. The Kansas City Royals with an 8-3 win over the Minnesota Twins. It was the Padres with a 10-6 win over the Houston Astros. And again, lots of flashbulbs are going off inside the Houston Astros dugout. It's all in Leavenworth. You're not cheating. You're not trying. The Oakland A's, one of Northern California's best sports outings, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. The A's are competing. They beat up on them good old boys from Southern California, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, by the score of 3-1. And the Coliseum is still talking about maybe they need a new arena. Well, this is a team that's at the top of the American League with an old Coliseum. They don't really need a new arena. They just need to keep playing good baseball. I know what everybody wants something new. Coliseum was built back in the 60s, and maybe they will build a ballpark on the waterfront. You have the Cardinals of St. Louis with an 8-6 win in the desert, the Valley of the Suns, over the Arizona Diamondbacks. And you have the Seattle Mariners with a 3-2 win over the Texas Rangers. California's finest rivalry when it comes to Major League Baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. And this game went late, but the San Francisco Giants, the city by the bay, they got an 8-5 win over the boys from Southern California, Chavez Irving. They'll be playing more baseball as they come to you from Southern California tomorrow. We're going to take what's called the abbreviated Big C pause. And in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back.
They can do anything they want. The primary reason they feel that way is because they don't have to worry about any repercussions, any ramifications for literally throwing something on another player, putting your, figuratively speaking, putting your hands on them, because that's essentially what you did by throwing something on them. You have no right to do that. You can boo all you want to, but you have no right to do that. We've seen these kind of actions before. We've seen the woman in Atlanta going after LeBron James. We've seen the older white individual sticking up both middle fingers at Russell Westbrook. At the New York Knicks game last night, I had no idea until this morning somebody actually spit over 50 Cent sitting courtside and spit on Trae Young. That is inexcusable. That person should be arrested. That person right there should be arrested. Make no mistake about it. So the NBA definitely needs to come down heavily on them, but I think the media can also get involved in policing this kind of situation with this.
All right, we're back from the mini Big C pause of all fan level where you hear some of our other sports brethren talking about bad behavior. Sometimes we hear about it if a kid does something wrong. When I was growing up, they would say they would wash their mouth out with soap in the elementary schools, but now that's considered abuse, so they can't wash their mouth out with soap. But there are some people who don't understand that you cannot go out and behave bad. We know some NBA players and some families of NBA players have had to deal with that garbage. You've heard it all over the sports universe, and I want to make sure that we do our part with Big C Sports with denouncing that. It's all fair and level war, but it's never fair. To just forget, we are a sports-craved country. We love the sports business. We love the sports universe, but we don't have a right to make life uncomfortable for a fan or an athlete. It's about great competition, some friendly competition, but you don't want to see anybody crossing the line. If someone crosses the line at a sporting arena, just like if you're in a shopping mall or a grocery store, if you assault someone, then you should and you can face criminal charges. And anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. There were 3 fans when it comes to NBA news. 3 fans banned indefinitely by the New York Jazz who made vulgar and racist comments against Ja Morant's parents and the father of the Memphis Grizzlies guard. I mean, you think about it. That's not cool at all to think that you can harass somebody, let alone their family members in the stands. So sports is not for everybody. Going to a game is a privilege, it's not a right. And when you think about it, there's a statement that came from the Utah Jazz cited one verbal altercation that occurred during the Utah Jazz 141-129 victory at Vivint Arena on Wednesday night in Game 2 of a first-round playoff series. And then you think about T. Morant, he said that there were 3 separate incidents while male Jazz fans adding that each was quickly handled by arena security. I know Big C and I were having our own conversation about how do you handle things like that. I don't think the fans, of course, should have a right to do anything to hurt somebody. But I don't believe that any player should retaliate by going into the stands like Ron Artest did a couple of years ago, like Dallas Campbell was going to do a couple of years ago when he was playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Leave that to security. I know people want to get emotional. People can act big and tough. But let security deal with that. That's why arenas have security. It's not about you being the vigilante guy that's going to go out and show people how big and tough you are. The smartest people in the world, they walk away from trouble, and they file a complaint with law enforcement, and they let the judge do their part. I just want to touch on what a lot of people in the sports universe have been talking about. We saw in Boston today. Boston got the better of the Brooklyn Nets, and the great Kyrie Irving talked about the return to Boston, how it reignites racism issues. The Nets guard spoke about hearing racist comments from fans at Boston home games My take on that is no one should be able to do that. I mean, there's a lot of times when people just say stupid things as athletes and sometimes even entertainers. You want to hear a lot of racist chants. Some of our most well-known rappers, they make tens of millions of dollars by saying the same words that would get a fan kicked out of an NBA arena. And people say, well, it's okay if you're coming from the same skin complexion. Well, if someone sticks a knife in your back, does it matter what color they are? Or does it still hurt and cause a lot of pain? I think every society should take a look at that man in the mirror and try to fix your house, clean up your own house, pull that mote out of your own eye before you pull a beam out of another man's eye. That's just my opinion, but who am I as just one person? I want to just hopefully say that we can have, as we go forward, there's no more Mayor Bill de Blasio coming on a stand and rough him up or put him in his place and tell him you can't bring that garbage into New York. And I believe he was being flippant. I thought he was just being a fan of the New York Knicks. But some people are dumb, and they can't decipher the difference. And so hopefully the NBA will clear that up and start telling people, if you have something to say, make sure you say something positive or something constructive so that even dumb people can understand that they can go to a game and keep their hands, their popcorn, and their spit to themselves, if that makes sense to you. And speaking of a great basketball player, one of the best basketball players in the history of the NBA universe, the great Michael Jordan. I mean, he's done a lot of things over the years. Sometimes people say Michael didn't do enough, as if giving money is going to solve every problem or speaking out is going to solve every problem. It's not about what Michael Jordan does. It's about what we all do to our own sphere of influence and the people that we have access to. That's what we have to have the most say-so. But historically black colleges and universities, the great Michael Jordan, and I'm proud of what he's done with the Nike Jordan brand, are giving $1 million to Morehouse College in Atlanta to boost journalism and sports-related stories. That's what Michael Jordan, 4-3! The great Michael Jordan, to me, hit a three-point play when he gave that $1 million to Morehouse College in Atlanta to boost journalism and sports-related studies. The gift announced Friday will help enrich his journalism and sports programs that was originally launched, think about this, with a donation from director and actor, the great Spike Lee. Do the Right Thing. He made that movie way back in the day, Do the Right Thing. The great Spike Lee has been doing the right thing with his ability to take actors and actresses and create real-life situations and put it in a movie. Do the Right Thing was one of those movies. The great Spike Lee, Spike Lee's been just a maven, in my opinion, of doing the right thing from a societal point of view. A long time, been doing it for many, many decades. So I'm always very proud about what the great Spike Lee has been able to do on film. And did it on film, and maybe went against the mainstream, but he created a genre that the great Spike Lee is one of the most respected people in the world of acting and motion picture making. The school, in a news release, said that the donation will help fund scholarships, technology, and educational programming for students in those fields. So I really want to thank the great Michael Jordan and the great Spike Lee for doing what they did to help Morehouse College and HBCU University. Back in the day, if you recall, it was Spike Lee, and he had this commercial with Michael Jordan, right as Michael Jordan was become famous. He said, it's got to be the shoes. It's about having to be the shoes, and the great Michael Jordan did that thing when he was trying to shoot basketball from all over the place. And the great Spike Lee produced that also. And that launched Michael Jordan's career in when it came to having great commercials with Nike. So that was fun by the great Spike Lee and also the great Michael Jordan. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. When we come back, I'm going to talk more about some things going on in the sports universe. Also, the world of the holiday season that we're all looking forward to. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Terminator, we'll be back.
Quote, I've often felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health, and this rings true whenever I see a press conference or partake in one. We're often sat there and asked questions, and we've been asked multiple times before, or asked questions that bring doubt into our minds, and I'm just not going to subject myself to people that doubt me, quote.
All right, we're back for the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps that you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports, especially on this Memorial Day weekend, starting the kickoff for summer's All Fair in Leavenworth. You just heard a soundbite from some comments about the great Naomi Osaka not wanting to have interviews with media after some events. I know we have Media Day. I know they're saying you got to give some of your thoughts to the media, and if you don't feel like it, sometimes people have to understand. We talk about mental health all the time, Big C, and we talk about people having a right to their own sanity. And sometimes you're not in the mood to come out and say anything. Because if you say the wrong thing, you know they're going to carry that soundbite all over the week and say, oh my God, I can't believe this athlete said such a bad thing. And Naomi Osaka was simply saying, sometimes I'm not emotionally ready. I think she has every right to do that. There are times when people take the day off from work. They don't go to work if they don't feel good. No one's going to chastise them. There are a lot of people in media that take the day off. There are times when athletes take the day off because they're emotionally spent. And to force someone to have a conference interview with media where they cannot redact anything, if they're not emotionally ready, then that's disrespecting their mental health while we're saying we want to look out for mental health. So I agree with the great Naomi Osaka's All Fair in Leavenworth. Tonight's WNBA schedule on a beautiful Friday, May the 28th, Washington at Connecticut. We have Los Angeles at Chicago, Minnesota at Seattle, Indiana at Las Vegas, Connecticut 86-81 over Washington, Big C. Los Angeles with a 76-61 win over Chicago. Seattle 82, Minnesota 72. Las Vegas 113, Indiana 77, and it's All Fair in Leavenworth. I really love what's going on in the world of the WNBA. I know so many people have this thought on how great baseball is, and we've talked about some great games and some great teams that are really putting on the show, and who's going to be the team that wins the World Series. The defending Los Angeles Dodgers most likely will be also swinging that bat. The pitch hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. The great Los Angeles Dodgers will definitely be in the swing of things. But I want to touch on Big C's Major League Baseball power rankings. Some of the top 10, and everybody has their own opinion. Starting off with the National League West. Are they contenders? Or are they pretenders? I think they're contenders. The San Diego Padres, they've been playing good baseball all year long, but early on, the starters are not pitching deep into the game. And their offense surprisingly wasn't slugging. It was clear even they were winning that they had baseball, had a lot of fatigue, and they had a lot of things to get ready for, especially the great Fernando Tatis Jr. doing his thing. But right now, the San Diego Padres, you could say they're maybe the top team in baseball. Number 2, the defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers, coming out of Chavez, Virginia. They took it on the chin tonight to the rivals from up north, the San Francisco Giants. But the Dodgers have won a good stretch of their games in the last 15 games. I believe they're right around 13-2 in those last 15 games. The Dodgers still waiting for the great Cody Bellinger, Big C. They're waiting for the great Corey Seager. They're waiting for Tony Gonsolin to return. But they're rolling right along anyway, sweeping a 3-game road series against the Giants up north and keeping track of what they're trying to do last year, which is back to the World Series, even though the Giants got the better of them at Chavez Ravine today. When you think about it, the starting pitching has predictably carried the Dodgers. The great Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, and Walker Buehler, as well as Julio Urias, all dominating in Dodgers fashion, Dodger Blue, Big C. Also, the number 3 team in Big C's power ranking, you got to go way down south to the city of Tampa Bay, maybe the city of champions with the Tampa Bay Rays and also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Rays, never sleep on the Rays. After a sluggish start, Tampa Bay finds itself atop the division again, alongside Boston and New York. The team traded away Wiley Adams and right-handed pitcher Trevor Richards for reliever Drew Rasmussen, Big C. That's a good team down there in Tampa. I'm sure they'll go very far into the postseason this year. Your friend, the great Tony La Russa, Big C, the Chicago White Sox, still got a couple of months to speculate, but the White Sox approach to the trade deadline, it will be interesting. The outfield aggregate has been so-so this season. That's a compliment given the long duration of injuries suffered by Eloy Jimenez and Luis Roberts, Big C. Rookie Andrew Vaughn has been on a disastrous defensively. But I like what Tony La Russa has been able to do. He did his thing when he was managing for the Oakland A's. Did his thing again when he managed for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now he's doing his thing again with the Chicago White Sox, who were in the abyss last year. Nobody expected Chicago to be as good as they are this year. Also, Big C's power rankings. The great Boston Red Sox, Big C. Them good old boys from Bingtown. They're a good team. They're a tough out, reaching a point of the season where it's really hard to rule out Boston as a legitimate contender for the division. Recent hot streaks from the Yankees and the Rays evaporated Boston's lead in the division, but the consistent output of offense and strong performances in the back-end rotation is going to help, and it provides positive sides. Nathan Eovaldi and also Eduardo Rodriguez turn around the performance. This team will be a force to be reckoned with the green mustard in the backdrop. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. I know they want to hear that call, Big C, many, many times when you look at Yankee Stadium, the New York Yankees, everybody's must-see TV, maybe when the Yankees are playing. Corey Kluber in his first start coming off a no-hitter. Not great news in the Big Apple, Big C, but the team continues to get strong. Stars from Domingo Gurman and Jordan Montgomery as well as the great Garrett Cole. The offense hasn't been the juggernaut many expected it to be, but this doesn't look like the same Yankees team that fans were panicking about a few weeks ago into the season. This is the team that will find their bat, they will find their pitching, and they will be back in the thick of things in the American League at all-fan level war. I want to bring you to a team that we talk about, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. They got a win tonight in Los Angeles at Chavez Ravine, Big C, the San Francisco Giants. Not quite sure what's in the water in San Francisco, but it sure tastes good with the Big C burger. Big C, it's a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats, and a hint might be all the seagulls that you see flying around Oracle Ballpark in beautiful San Francisco, California. It's all fair level war. Not quite sure what it is, but you know it does taste good. You know what also tastes great? The great Buster Posey. He went yard tonight at Chavez Ravine. In Los Angeles, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, even Lagoria, all are producing as if they were in the prime again. Posey specifically looks like an MVP candidate. He was sitting out with COVID-19 in 2020 season, but he's playing good baseball, and when he's behind the home plate, you know the Giants are going to get great catching. It's all fan level war. I want to take you to a team that allegedly has more flashbulbs out of their locker room dugouts than any team in Major League Baseball. It's all fair level war. The Houston Astros. When you think about this team, the great Jose Altuve, one of the smaller giants in the world of baseball. The defining trait, look about Dusty Baker's team, the Astros might be maddening inconsistency at times, Big C. You call them a team that's kind of inconsistent, but because time that they push harder, and it's trying, like trying to push a boulder up a mountain, Big C, or trying to stay out of the middle of a lightning storm. You know, that's the flashbulbs that go off. We thought it was lightning. It was really flashbulbs coming out of the Houston Astros locker room. It's all fair level war. But you think about this team, they played well against first place Oakland, outscoring the A's 67-35. Houston's also combined 0-5 against the Rockies, Big C. It's a team that's kind of perplexing at times. But when you think about this team, at times they look great, other times they don't. But you know, with the great Dusty Baker, they will be back on top of the things very soon. Maybe even in the World Series with all those flashbulbs they have going off in their locker rooms. All fair level war. I want to also bring you to the great city, Northern California, the city of Oakland, the Oakland Athletics, Big C. And maybe they will get a new baseball stadium. I hope they get a new baseball stadium. I know they've been talking about getting a new baseball stadium for a long time over by the waterfront near Jack London Square. But the Oakland A's, they continue to ping pong this season, starting slow. They were 1-7 before rising up with a 13-game winning streak. The A's are shuffling in and out of first place in the division alongside the Astros. But the team sports a negative run differential and a mediocre middle-of-the-pack ERA. Whether or not this is going to hurt Oakland in the long term, I think this is a team that's making a playoff run, and they're making even a push to be the best team in the American League. I really look forward to seeing what they're doing. We're going to close out with the Toronto Blue Jays, Big C. Them good old boys from Canada by way of Buffalo. Toronto struggled against Boston and Tampa, getting swept by the Rays in a 4-game series. and dropping 2 of 3 against the Red Sox. The root of the Blue Jays' issues is stems from a rotation that continues to lean heavily on the success of Henry and Rubik. See, the lack of strong pitching bar in a trade move or other strong starters might hold this team back from truly completing. It's all fair and level war. Everybody has their own opinion about who's the best team and who's going to have a chance to climb the power rankings. Why is one team ranked higher than the other? Everybody has their own say-so about how and why it happens. It's all fair and level war. I'm going to take what's called the mini Big C pause and come right back and talk more about some sports on this beautiful Memorial Day holiday weekend. And I hope that everybody can stay safe. And the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back.
A Game 7 Hattie will almost certainly get you in the top 5 plays. Here's the dirtiest of Jan Mark's trio, Fox Sports 98.9.
There's Ryan Suter deep in his own zone. Challenged by Watt. Stop! Young! Score! Matthias Janmark, his second goal of the game. 5-2 Golden Knights with 7:24 to go in the third period of Game 7. His first 2 playoff goals for Vegas is coming Game 7. And the Knights have a 3-goal lead.
Off the jab step. One bounce. Fires for 18. And ripped it. 50. Half a 100 for Tatum. And puts Boston up by 7 with 40.8 seconds to go. Biggest basket of the year for the Boston Celtics.
On the left is good. Chris Middleton taking over offensively here in the third quarter.
Looking to fully exercise the demons of Bubbles past. You can catch that on ESPN Radio at 1 p.m. Next on the docket is a crucial Game 4 between the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. Denver has won 2 straight after dropping Game 1. And Adam Maris of Locked On Nuggets podcast isn't sure Portland has an answer for the Joker.
But when they go to Cantor, or last night, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson at the center position, or Carmelo at the center position, to me that does hint at a little bit of a desperation. We're trying our last bullet here because this is such a Hail Mary to put a guy giving up 80 pounds on Jokic to hope to stop him.
We wrap up the NBA with Joel Embiid and the Sixers looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in Washington, and John Morant and the Grizzlies hosting the number 1 seed Jazz. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. on ESPN. To the ice, we have Game 6 in Canada. The Montreal Canadiens will host the Toronto Maple Leafs, trailing 3-2, but the Habs will be unleashing their secret weapon. Fans. For the first time in over a year, fans will return to Montreal. Here's Greg Wyshynski on the pivotal Game 6.
The nerves are getting frayed right now in Toronto. I mean, every Leafs fan knows that you get to a certain point in the playoffs with this team and you start wondering how it's all going to unravel. And losing Game 5 and then going back to Montreal for Game 6 where they'll have fans in the stands is certainly one of those scenarios.
All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You have a lot of sports brethren all over the sports universe chiming in about what's going on their favorite sports networks. It is all fair and level war. NHL playoff schedule 2021. Updated brackets coming up for you this weekend after wild, heart-thumping first round. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue with the second round. As you think about it, Big C, there's so much great action happening on the ice. The 4 divisions get set to crown their champions. 8 teams will remain to battle it out for the 2021 Lurid Stanley's Cup. There are perennial contenders such as the Boston Bruins, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the New York Islanders are giving the Nassau Coliseum quite a send-off in the old barns last season. It's been 20 years, Big C, since the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche won a cup. Is this their year? We will find out. It's all fair and level war. But don't rule out the Carolina Hurricanes and coach Rod Bardar-Moore, Big C, the Jack Adams contender, the club that won, think about it, the Cup 15 years ago. It's running on all cylinders up north, and the Winnipeg Jets have to wait a bit to see who they'll face. Connor Hellebuyck, Big C, has been a force between the pipes, and regardless of who they'll be playing next, they're soaring, and so are the people soaring on the great world of NHL hockey's all fair and level war. You can catch everything you didn't know by just tuning in to your team and Googling where you can find them They're all over the place, where there's going to be NBC, NBC Sports Net, and CNBC, as well as some of the NHL net and the sports net channels all over the country. Fox Sports is going to have some, CBS Sports is going to have some as well. You can even find it on Fubo TV and look forward to seeing what happens in the great game of NHL hockey. It's all fair and level war for this beautiful Memorial Day weekend. I hope that everybody, and I do mean everybody, please stay safe. Do what it takes. Make sure you don't let your friends drive drunk. Don't let anyone do anything to screw up the lives of themselves or anybody else. We all want to have a great time, but sometimes people need to be told, hey, give me the keys, give me the car, you're not driving anywhere. It's all fair and level. I really look forward to what's happening this great weekend. I want to touch a little bit on some African American history, and people can Google it. It's called the Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1782. Black Americans fought for both the British and the American side during the Revolutionary War, depending on who was offering freedom for doing so. And you can Google about the Revolutionary War and how African Americans fought on both sides. And just like in politics today, they were saying who's going to be more favoritive of having us pursue liberty and justice for all. It's all fair and level war. I want to take the time to cover what's happening in the world of the NFL. We have the OTAs. Some people decided to show up. Some people decided to not show up. Big C. It's all fair and level war. But ranking the 2021 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates, the top 11 features 4 quarterbacks with one slight favorite. This year, there are a plethora of fascinating first-year quarterbacks and offensive skill players in the marquee roles on their respective teams. I want to rank the Offensive Rookies of the Year candidates for the 2021 season. And it's just my opinion, so that means you don't have to like it. Everybody doesn't have to like my apple pie, but I think it's the best apple pie in the universe. It's all fair and level war. My mom actually is the best apple pie I've ever tasted in my life. Sometimes I've eaten the whole pie. It's all fair and level war. But I want to bring up number 11, Travis Etienne. He's a running back out of Clemson, plays for the Jaguars. This is a low ranking. It's not an indictment of Etienne's talent. I think he's going to be amazing. Although he was my running back number 2 in the 2021 class behind the great Najee Harris by a rather wide margin, his situation in Jacksonville is not conducive of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I still like Najee Harris. He's going to be running the ball in Pittsburgh, and he's going to have a great season as long as the offensive line can hold up and it won't have so much pressure on Big Ben Roethlisberger. Also, another player that so many people are excited about, this number 10 on the list, the great Trey Lance, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, 5-time Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers. They're trying to get back. They have Jimmy Garoppolo still under the center, but we'll see what happens. Lance deserves a spot on this list, even though he's not in line to start, and things would have to go almost perfectly for veteran quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo to secure the starting gig for the entire season. Oftentimes, in the past, Jimmy G has been injured, and oftentimes that's why a lot of times people feel, well, we got to find somebody else to fill in just in case we have more issues with Jimmy G. I hope they have a great season, and especially Jimmy G staying healthy. But you know you want to see Trey Lance. It's all fair and level war. We will see what happens. Also, number 9 on the list, the great Najee Harris out of Antioch, California, Antioch High School in the Northern California Bay Area. A running back playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of like a Franco Harris. Najee's my number 1 running back in the 2021 class. The great Le'Veon Bell 2.0 is what he is. Is perfect for the Steelers, drafted him where they did. And unsurprising given the downturn that we've seen with great quarterback, future Hall of Famer Big Ben Roethlisberger's play of late. Remember, Ben came off of that injury, that shoulder injury, the elbow injury actually a year and a half ago. So that sidelined him a lot, and he just didn't see himself coming back. But they did start 11-0, and many people will say they started 11-0 because of their defense. But, you know, he was the guy that took the snap every single play. It's all fair and level war. But we'll see if the Steelers will turn their versatile offensive weapon early and often. Najee Harris is a pretty safe bet. Number 8, the great Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. The Jets surprised, rightfully so. Wilson's my quarterback, number 2 in the class. Everybody loved him as a prospect. I'm just very skeptical of the environment the Jets have for Wilson and his rookie season. Will it be any better than the great Sam Darnold? Some people might say yes, others might say no. But the Jets are in a rebuilding mode, and I'm sure Saleh will do his best to get that team headed in the right direction. Number 7, Devonte Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. The Eagles take him. So glad Smith won the Heisman Trophy. And it was refreshing to see voters get it right regardless of position. He was the biggest player in college football last season. He's an enigma because he looks like he never stopped. You know, think about it. He never stopped by the locker room or by the weight room to lift weights, Big C, but he was always chasing after the Big C burger. He knows it's a tasty burger. He knows it comes with exotic beef, Big C. And rumor has it, it made him run fast, Big C. Reminds me a lot like the great Billy White Shoe Johnson. Also, LaShawn Jackson, too. It's all fair in Leavenworth. LaShawn Jackson came out of Long Beach Poly High School, Southern California, by the way of Kyle Brooklyn. Alabama has NFL caliber weight room during his 4-year stint with the program, but he didn't seem to find it too much. Again, he was eating the Big C burger, which is a tasty burger, and he knows that it comes with exotic meats. I think it's going to be fantastic in the NFL. You have Rashad Bateman, number 6, wide receiver, plays with the Baltimore Ravens. And Superman Lamar Jackson, Bateman is your guy. If you've been scouting for a value pickup offensive rookie of the year, it was a challenge to find a blatant flaw in his game. When you think about what Baltimore needs, they need to increase its passing game and the usage and the efficiency of it. I think Superman Jackson is primed this year to have a great passing game, especially if they get Julio Jones. Who knows where Julio Jones is going? We most likely will find out after the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Number 5, Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, playing with the Dolphins. This ranking is mostly tied to how immensely talented I believe Waddle is and will be in the NFL. He's exceptionally fast. For college, we'll see what happens when he puts on NFL cleats, because a lot of guys are fast at the NFL level, Big C. But he plays like he's 6'4" because of his leaping ability and his ball tracking ability, and he's able to go and stretch the defense over the top. He can stretch the top of the defense, and he's also a good possession receiver. We will see what happens with him. A guy that I'm also very high on, number 4, Kyle Pitts, a tight end. The Falcons, let's call them the Atlanta matchup nightmares this season. Pitts is going to be placed in advantageous situations where you have the great Matty Ice, Ryan throwing to him. As long as they can give Matt Ryan some time, if they lose Julio Jones, I don't know how that makes their passing game any better. I mean, Pitts was doing his thing at Florida last year, but he's no Julio Jones. It may take him some years to get to that level, but they have to keep building. They have to keep reloading, and Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, is a solid choice for the Atlanta Falcons. And if things don't work out well, Arthur Blank can also give him a job at Home Depot. I doubt that would happen. It's off there in Leavenworth. Number 3 on the list, Jamar Chase, wide receiver. The Cincinnati Bengals. Chase brings a wide receiver number 1 skill set to the NFL. He's deceptively quick, in and out of his breaks. He has that fast twitch muscle. He gets open on a routine basis. He dominates at the catch point down the field. A guy that can go up and get the ball with his hands and not let the ball come into him. I think he's going to be dominant for the Bengals if they can find some time for the great Joe Burrow, and they haven't been able to do that before he got hurt. We'll see if they improve on that by next season. Number 2 on the list. I know everybody has this opinion about what do you mean number 2? But quarterback Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. He's the layup line offensive rookie of the year selection. Lawrence is the best quarterback prospect of the past 40 years. Some people say, but if I recall the last 2 years, he's lost his last 2 college football games. I'm concerned about Jacksonville's offensive line, Urban Meyer, micromanaging, and also this talk of Tim Tebow out of Florida. He played quarterback for the great Urban Meyer when they won 2 national championships down at Florida. They beat Oklahoma, and they also... they beat Oklahoma and they beat Ohio State. The year they played Oklahoma, I thought they should have been lined up with USC. USC went to the Rose Bowl and beat, I believe, Penn State that year, 38-24. And I think it was Florida 24-14 over Oklahoma that had just lost the previous year, 55-19 to the mighty Trojans of Southern California. But you know how the SEC is biased and the NCAA is biased. They don't want to see the SEC get taken down. So they allowed them to skip playing USC. That's just my opinion. It's all fair and love and war. But for people in Jacksonville, And Tim Tebow gets a chance. He would also get down on his knee and pray. The great Colin Kaepernick would get on his knee and say, "Stop hurting black Americans." And he was scorned by the media. Some of our very biased mainstream media was saying, "Oh, he's anti-military." And some of these guys, they never even served their country, saying he was anti-military. And that was a lie. And they knew it was a lie. But it hurt Colin Kaepernick, kept him out of work. Tim Tebow's Caucasian. Didn't hurt him to do some things that people thought was maybe an affront to fans. He was more about, look at me, I'm Tim Tebow. I want to bring Jesus Christ and proselytize at a football game. And people have their own opinions. But one guy that was embraced is a Caucasian man. I'm sure he's a good man, but he's no better man than Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick said, "Stop killing black kids." Tim Tebow said, "Accept Jesus Christ." And one got scolded, and the other got a chance to get on an NFL roster. It's all fair and love and war, but we will see if that's going to take away the attention of Trevor Lawrence. He just got the #1 pick. You would think it would be, you want to crown him, the late Dennis Green said. But Trevor Lawrence just became the #1 pick in the NFL draft. But the biggest story is a guy who hasn't scored a touchdown in, I think, 8 seasons, Tim Tebow. Is that what you want on your wedding day? You bring out the ex-wife that you married 8 years ago, and now she's the one that everyone is talking about, as opposed to the new bride. I mean, that's just an opinion. Everybody has their own opinions. I'm going to tell you the quarterback that I think is #1. Justin Fields, out of Ohio State. People can talk about what the analysts want to talk about, and again, everybody has their own opinion and the right to their opinion. But Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, they were at a 7-on-7 camp, and there was talk that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence were the best 2 quarterbacks at that camp. But Justin Fields beat him out. He was the MVP of the camp. Now, they played head-to-head competition, and they're 1-1 against each other. We know Clemson beat Ohio State in a playoff game 2 years ago, and Ohio State returned the favor this year, beating up on Clemson. So they're 1-1. But I really feel Justin Fields, quarterback for the Bears, I think he's going to be a star for the Windy City Big C. Fields is my Offensive Rookie of the Year selection for a multitude of reasons. He's phenomenal. His talent is unquestionable. He's chief among them, Big C. He inherits a group of perfectly suited players to help him win in Chicago. He's from the Midwest as far as Ohio State. We know he grew up down in Georgia. But he's playing in the same type of weather at Ohio State that you're going to find in Chicago. So I don't think that's going to be a factor for him. And again, everybody has their own opinion about who's what and who's better. I know in order to be at that level, to play NFL football, you got to be doing something right. And everybody knows it's easy to criticize players and say who's #1 and who's #2, but it's just Big C's thoughts on the 2021 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. And 11 guys, and there's 4 quarterbacks and one slight favorite. And I like Justin Fields so much because of his ability to run, his ability to pass. He can throw the deep route, he can throw the fade, he can throw to the middle. He can also pull it down and run for 15 yards on a first down. So whatever people were saying about him, we've seen that before with Warren Moon. We've seen it before around the Cunningham, so many other talented African-American quarterbacks. I think Justin Fields is going to be a touchdown maker in the Windy City of Chicago. It's all fair and love and war, especially in that division where you have Green Bay and you have Minnesota and Detroit. I really think that Justin Fields is going to be very sharp and have a great year for the Chicago Bears. It's all fair and love and war. I know everybody's getting ready for a wonderful, wonderful weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and I hope that everybody can stay safe. Everybody, please, no matter what you're doing, you have people in your family that you love. You want to make sure they don't do anything foolish. Sometimes, even out driving around, people are going so fast in their cars as if they're in a hurry to get someplace, maybe because they haven't been used to being out. So when you're out on the roads, please drive careful. There will be a lot of CHP out this weekend, making sure that people are doing the right thing on the roadways. It's all fair and love and war. Just a couple of news. about sports before we close out. We know we have NBA basketball this week, the playoffs. The Lakers doing their thing. Looking forward to that. We have also Milwaukee's doing their thing. The Brooklyn and the Boston series. I'm hearing TD Garden's going to have nearly a packed house when it comes to Sunday's game. The Clippers are showing some life against the Dallas Mavericks, and the great J.R. Ewing, Luka Doncic, big seat down in the city of Dallas, Texas. It's all fair level war. So we'll see some good sports. Philadelphia is doing their thing. I really appreciate seeing how well these teams are playing. The Lakers should knock out the Suns by the time they head back down to the Valley of the Suns. It's all fair in love and war. I want to just close out saying some NFL news. Buffalo Bills signed long snapper Reed Ferguson to a 3-year extension. And all veteran offensive tackle Jared Vanderheer received a 6-game suspension. Says he's retiring from the NFL. New England Patriots rookie Mac Jones impressing coaches and teammates at OTA workouts. I still think Cam Newton will be a 4,000-yard passer and run for 500 yards this season with the New England Patriots, especially if they get Julio Jones. But there's a lot of guys coming back to Boston, and the great Jedi Knight Bill Belichick. It's all fair and love and war. Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady to team up versus Byron DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers in a golf match on July 6th. We will see what happens in the world of the NFL. There's a lot of good things going on in the world of sports and Memorial Day weekend. The kickoff to all of the great things that we all look forward to, which is the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger. We know it comes with exotic meats, but just don't eat too much exotic meat because you might have to do more exotic workouts in the weight room, if that makes sense to you. I know a lot of people want to work out and have a great time for this holiday weekend coming up. So hopefully everybody will have a safe and prosperous holiday weekend, and make sure no matter what you do that you rise and shine. Every day you rise and shine, and every Monday through Friday you can rise and shine when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as my mama always said, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.